So first of all, I welcome all of you to this session, and then let's all congratulate both Neha and Sejna for getting this perfect score in their latest PT attempt. So Sejna took it for the very first time, and she got perfect 90. It was Neha's second attempt, and then she also got the perfect 90. Show you the scorecard. I would request all of you to use the chat feature. So if some of you are unable to locate the chat feature, you just hover your mouse towards the top of your screen. You will see more button. You just need to click on that more. You will see a chat button there. Once you click on that chat button, you will be able to post your questions. Yes. All right. So this is Srijana's score. So she took it 2 to 3 weeks back, and she got perfect 90 in all the first sections. And then this is Neha's score. So she took it in the last week of August, but then the scores got delayed, and then she got the results last week, and then again she also got a perfect 90. All right. So I would request all of you when you are doing the chat, please make sure that you are posting it to everyone so that all of you can see the question, unless there is something that you don't want others to see. All right, so let me start with Sujana. Sujana, could you just give a brief introduction and then talk a bit about yourself. How was your preparation plan? And then we'll go move to Neha and then do the same thing. And then we will open the line for you guys to ask any questions that you may have. All right, Sujana, you can start. Sujana, you have to unmute. Okay, unmute.
Yeah, hi. I guess you muted us all, so are you able to hear me okay?
It's perfect, fine, yeah.
Okay, so my name is Srijana. So this is like Ambrish mentioned, this is my first attempt for PTE, but I've given IELTS a couple of times before I switched to PTE. A little bit about me is that I have a full-time day job in the IT sector. So most of my time I'm at work, and then I live with my parents and my extended family as well. So I think the preparation, the key for me was definitely attempting a lot of mock exams. I have almost given 8 or 9 full 3-hour tests at once in order to practice. So I think that is the most important thing which has worked for me, because earlier I used to be a bit complacent and I used to think I'm going to manage in the test somehow, but then after consistent practice I obviously found that you can have a better result.
All right. Yeah. So we will come to you again, asking about your preparation plans, how you exactly started and all those things. So
Sure.
let's go back to Neha. So Neha, could you please tell us something about yourself and where you work and all?
Yeah, hi, good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Um, yeah, so for in my case also, it was similar that as of Srijana, that I've been working professional and I have been working in IT full time. So it's like 8 to 9 hours of job and then household chores and my kid, everything had to be managed along with this preparation. So basically for PTE, the foremost challenge for me was to taking out time for preparing because of the very tight schedule that I used to have. And I mean, I do have it now as well. However, I had to make sure that I spend at least some portion of my day on the prep. What worked for me was that I made consistent efforts. Even if I spend around 20 or 25 minutes a day, I made sure that I should know the basics very clearly. Basics in terms of the format should be very clear to me, the pattern of the exam, and the weak areas that I have to improve for myself. And initially, when I began, I thought that every area was a challenge for me because it was all new. But when I attempted writing, it actually made me know that in writing, I was uh, confident enough, and I wrote whatever was logical. So I used collocations mainly. So those collocations actually helped me to realize that if I write my paragraph with collocated words, it would make score me more points.
All right, super. So we will get into more specifics when we talk about each of these individual question types. Not all these, individual question types, but the ones which are really, really important. Yeah.
Sure.
So the one thing that I really wanted others also to understand at this point was that the most of the students who, uses our platform right now are working professionals. And I think I have interacted with almost all the participants who are present over here today. And one of the main challenges that they usually mention is to finding out time. Okay, so uh, the fact that you have to find time, and that is something that you should anyways do. You have to anyways find time for this. Uh, so the Srijana and Neha both were really, really good from the start. So it's not that they came to Fountain Head Prep and then they improved. Even if they had done it by themselves, they should have very high chance of getting a 9. But the point here is that they spent time understanding the exam and going through those areas where they were not really comfortable at, and then doing it multiple times. For example, even for giving full length mock tests, it really helps you, understand the exam structure. Every time you do it, you come up with really something else that you may not have understood the last time that you gave a mock. So which is why it's very, very important to put that consistent effort. That is one reason. Now, secondly, Neha and Srijana both are working professionals, and on top of it, Neha, you mentioned that she's a working mother. So it's extremely challenging for them to find time. And despite that, they were able to find time, means I think others can also do the same. So it's that time is there that you have to really, really find how to devote that time is something that you really have to work on. So is this an issue for all of you, the time factor? If you could comment, let's try to make this as interactive as possible. So maybe we can even ask them how they were able to manage time, how they were able to find time. Yeah, so Samida, Megha, all of you agree that finding time. Me, everyone, yeah. Okay. So do you have any tips, Srijana and Neha? Because all of you are again, very, very busy with your life, your work, but still you were able to manage time. How could you do that? So we'll start with Srijana. Okay, again, mute all of you. Srijana. Okay. Okay, Srijana, I think yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, see, the time thing, of course, it's a little case by case. Everybody's timing and everything is different. But I can tell you what I did. Saturdays and Sundays, when I have an off, I would write the 3-hour tests. And I would then, immediately after doing the test, I will go and review which sections I didn't score well. And once I find out which sections I'm not scoring well, throughout the week, every day in the morning before I go to office, 20-25 minutes, I will sit and focus only on those areas. So weekends, full-time 3-hour tests, and on the weekdays, 20 to 25 minutes, like Neha mentioned, work on the weak areas. That is how I managed. And I did not hurry into writing this test, even though both my IELTS, I had a very good score. I didn't just jump into PT and book a slot immediately. I took good 2 months, like 8 weeks at least, for my preparation. because I had to finish. I finished about 8 or 9 full mock tests, so I took my time to practice well.
Good, Sridhar. Okay, so Neha, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, actually, I followed the similar approach, very similar to what Srushna said. That on the weekends, I used to make sure that I gave at least one mock test, one full length test, so that I have that practice of sitting for 3 hours continuously and giving the test, and also being able to go from one section to another smoothly and be able to comprehend and assimilate all the sections in one go. So that is very important. But yes, I used to make sure that every day I stay in touch what I was practicing, and I focus more on the weaker areas during Monday to Friday, so that when I give my test on Saturday or Sunday, I should be I should be scoring as per my expectations, or I should be knowing still my weaker areas. So that strategy worked for me as well.
And how many months of preparation? Was it months of preparation or weeks of preparation?
Yeah, so I began preparing in July. My first attempt for PTE was in the beginning of August, somewhere around 2nd August. And the problem I was facing was with the speaking part only. I was left with a very poor score in speaking, though I naturally speak fluently. But there was a big challenge that I faced in speaking, which was the plethora of information on internet, which actually misguided me. So I used to think that I have to speak slowly to make the computer understand, because there are videos like that around on the internet, so you do get misguided. So Fountainhead actually put me back on track when I met Ambarish in the beginning.
Yeah, so if some of you were there, some of you were present there in.
Yes, I think Tarun was there. I think Tarun was there, as far as I remember, in that session.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, so I think if there were some of you were there in the first session, I think Nevin was there. Tarun, I'm not very sure. But then, yeah, so
so Tarun was there.
Yeah, so she was asking questions about speaking at that time, and then we connected actually. Yeah,
right. So when I came to actually know that speaking fluently doesn't mean that we have to in PT we don't have to make the computer understand anything. So there is a lot of misinformation on internet. So that basically helped me. That guide from Ambarish and Fountainhead actually helped me to understand that naturally we have to speak naturally and confidently, and that is the best way to attempt your PT speaking. And if you are naturally a fluent speaker, you don't have to worry about much in the speaking part if you're confident and good in.
So I have a similar experience. When I first started PTE, I saw the number of sections and I got completely overwhelmed. I thought I can never do this, and I also got misguided by the internet. I went to a site where I scored only 50 after multiple attempts, and then I decided that I'm never going to write PT again. Then I found Fountainhead in one of the YouTube video links, and then I contacted Ambarish, and when I took the mock test, the first one, you get it free. You make the initial payment, you get one complete evaluation free. That was very helpful because you spoke very motivatingly to me at that time, and you told me that I can work on those areas. And Ambarish gave me detailed explanation about how PTE works, because it's a little different. It's a computer you're talking to and not a person. So there is a lot of subjectivity that is gone, which is a good thing, but also you need to understand how a machine interprets scores. So those tips was really helpful, Ambarish. I have to thank you for that.
Okay. So PT diagnostic test is something that both of these people have taken at the start. I mean, when they enrolled with Fountainhead Prep. So could you please tell me, Jane, do you remember what was your score in PT diagnostic test? I think it was somewhere between 70s to 80s. Is that right, Sujana?
Yeah, I got 79, I think.
All right. So see, the point here is that she was already good. She was already there at that first test itself. Okay. Now, the fact that again, she spent a significant amount of time because she was again in the border range, right? And then even if you missed it by 1 point, you again have to repeat it. the fact that she understood the importance of it, it's not very good to be in that border region. She again took time out and then devoting 2 months of preparation and understanding it really well. And once you, I mean, you yourself feel that confidence that okay, I'm good at it. Then you can really go ahead and then give the test. So same case with Neha as well. So Neha had already taken that first attempt and then came to us. So she was already at a very good level. And then again, it's about giving that time and to assimilate things and understand things clearly, and then of course practicing it out. All right, super. So to summarize, what both of these people, and from my experience, people have got 79 plus, so have followed a similar preparation plan that, especially when you are a working professional, you don't really have time, lot of time. So Saturdays and Sundays they devoted for full length mock tests. And once they figure out the weak areas out of those full length mock test evaluation, they spend about 20-25 minutes. So it's typically an average, if you can spend 45 minutes to 1 hour a day, it's more than enough. And I'm very sure that all of you will be able to at least devote this much amount of time. And it's also about, you have to stay in touch with these question types in order to get better every day.
Right. I would like to add one thing here, that if in a if we talk about our busy schedule and our work life nowadays, integrating this learning with our work is very important. Like I used to make sure when I began with this preparation, I remember that I used to hear to one TED talk at least during my office hours only. I mean, there's always time when we are working on laptop and we can hear things passively. So I used to plug in my earphones and used to hear at least one TED talk. So integrating that learning in your daily work life is also very important, and also making sure that when you're interacting in your office, also you make sure that you're speaking with correct grammar and correct vocabulary, and improving your vocabulary also alongside. These all points also help you to score high.
All right. Great. So I think a lot of you actually do the same. I've heard this from many students that while they are traveling, when they are driving, they used to hear repeat sentence right from dictation, and even lectures. So it's important that you at least devote some time daily so that you are in that flow. You are in that process. All right. So let's start real questions. So Nevin is asking, can you share your retail lecture and read aloud audio? So all those are available in the platform itself. So I will be doing it. I will mark their responses as best responses so that you will be able to see their response in our platform. So I would encourage all of you to ask questions. So this is a very good opportunity for all of you to ask questions. If you are stuck at something, if there is something that you really don't seem to work for you, please make sure that you ask those questions. Don't hesitate, because the question that you may have is something that will help others also. Samida, was there any particular, can you please share your strategy for RS and WST, especially long sentences?
Okay. So for repeat sentences, I would like to tell my strategy here. So there was specifically no strategy, I would say. It was more about repeating it the way it is spoken and repeating it with confidence. Earlier, I struggled in doing this because the very first challenge is to understand what they are saying. So their TED talks, listening to TED talks really helped me, because there people speak long sentences, they speak connected sentences, and if you're used to understanding and listening to those, then practicing the repeat sentences becomes quite easier. And definitely it needs a lot of practice to hear and understand that accent and the way it is spoken. I would say that my repeat sentence did not go 100% correct from my side, as I remember.
Okay, so
However,
that's
if you
something that,
speak it with fluency and the way it is said, if the way it is said during the exam, if you just repeat it the way it is said, and you may also replace one or other word with a synonym or something that you know can add to it to make it the way it was. I mean, I'm not able to give an example here. Say, for example, if it said, this is very interesting, and if you say something like, this is very beautiful, that will also work, because you are maintaining that pace, you're maintaining that confidence, you're maintaining that the way it is said, that intonation. So it's not, it doesn't have to be 100% correct, like all 10 or questions whatever come across, you don't have to be correct in each one of them, and don't expect that from yourself, because you have to keep your confidence level high whenever you're speaking there.
So my tip for repeat sentence, this is a weak area for me. I struggled in my practice test. So the first and foremost thing for repeat sentences, 100% focus. Because any one thing you miss also, you can falter. Like Neha said, you can replace it with a word. Whatever word comes to your mind, you can at least replace it. But the thing is, you shouldn't be stopping, and don't use filler words like or things like that. So the long sentences, what I used to do is I used to write keywords. Like, for example, due to construction happening in the university, the library has been temporarily shifted to some premises. I forgot what that sum was. I still don't recollect, but I filled it with something. So long sentences, write down the keywords: university, construction, library, things like that. So when you repeat it, you can you can fill the word appropriately. The second tip from me for repeat sentence was, the accents keep changing. So there's an Australian or New Zealand accent versus a Brit or an American accent. So for that, what I used to do is, it's been so long since you have passed out of school or college, then you can't focus, right? When I was continuously writing tests, I was not able to give 100% concentration. So I would watch some really small accent videos on YouTube, then read the subtitles to make sure that I did not miss any word. For example, some words can sound very different in different accents. So very short videos on YouTube for different accents I used to watch. But the main thing is the 100% focus. That is what you need to practice when you do your full length tests. That you sit in a room where there is no distraction and things like that. Put off your mobile phone. When you're doing repeat sentence, just close your eyes, listen to the sentence, write down the keywords in the paper, whatever they give you, and don't use any filler words when you're repeating it. It's okay if you make a mistake and don't repeat this exact word.
Right. One more thing we can add is that understand the meaning of the sentence. Then you would be able to repeat it well. Even if you have to repeat it in your own words, you can do that. That would also help.
All right. So understand the meaning of what you listen. All right. So a couple of good things. Again, I would just like to add one word that I typically use, and that's becoming one of my favorite words these days: intent. So if you have that intent to understand, I think if a couple of you have actually gone back to me and then mentioned this fact. Once you have that intent to understand what the lecturer is saying, then 90% of the time you will get it. So again, when you're practicing something, avoid these distractions. As Srijana and Neha both mentioned, close your eyes and completely focus. You should not be stopping in between. It's okay to make mistakes. Some amount of mistakes are acceptable. And as Neha rightly pointed out, she was not 100% accurate during the exam also for these repeat sentences. But still, despite that, she got a 90 in speaking. So which means some amount of errors are acceptable. So it's okay to make mistakes, but how you manage it is really what is important.
And when you make a mistake, for example, in the exam, I made a mistake in repeat sentence. I knew that I forgot the word, I managed it. The next sentence, when it was coming, the next 5 seconds, I was very tensed. I was thinking that I've already lost it. But then I brought back my focus and said, it's a new sentence. I have another option to do better. So don't be tensed. If one thing didn't go right, try to focus on all the other things you can get right in the next few. So don't let the negativity about one sentence not going right cascade into the other sentences.
All right. So I think a number of, yeah, so a lot of you have actually asked about repeat sentences, repeat sentence and right from dictation. Is there any, is the strategy any different from for right from dictation, Neha?
Right from.
So my question is, so repeat sentence and right from dictation, if you look at it, both of it is kind of similar. In repeat sentence, you just
right. So the other one is a bit easier, I would say.
Right from dictation.
Yeah, right. That's quite easier than repeat sentence. That's what I've seen as per my exam experience as well as mock test also. I've seen that the other repeat sentence is longer as well at times, and it's more complex. However, right from dictation is quite easier. They are very short sentences. They're very easy to understand.
Super. So I think that pretty much answers all the repeat sentence and right from dictation queries. The other questions that we have here is how to maintain fluency perfectly. Rabi.
You have to practice again. Like when you're at home, keep recording what you're speaking and practice more on the speaking. Make sure you're not using again those filler words or stopping and things like that. If you think you're not confident enough, go with a slower pace. Mostly it's just about practice and reading and just being confident. Like Ambarish one time told me that, you don't have to exactly use the right kind of words. It's okay if you forget one or two. The computer is pretty forgiving. So all you need to do is just be focused. Don't let your voice falter. Just those 2-3 things will help you maintain your fluency.
Right, and one more thing to improve fluency that can be tried is that you speak more in English at home as well, with your friends, with your family, and bring it in your natural language and day-to-day language, I would suggest, in order to improve your fluency.
Okay, so a follow-up question I think Navin has here is that I've heard to improve fluency we have to speak fast. Is it true? So I think Neha will be the right person to answer this question because she got 68 in her first attempt and then she got 90 in her second attempt. So Neha, you want to answer that question?
Yeah, okay. So fluency is very important, and fluency was something which actually, I naturally was good at. However, I suppressed my fluency in order to, because I read from all the online options that you have to make the computer understand. So I used to go slow intentionally, and I used to suppress the way I talk naturally. And I used to, stress on some of the words very much, like develop and all that, just to copy and copy the news reader and all that. But that's not required. You have to speak the way you do naturally, and the fluency part would automatically go high if you speak in the pace which is good with you. You are confident while speaking in that pace, at that pace. So you just need to maintain it.
Right. So maybe the point here is that speaking fast does not mean that the oral fluency is good. So the definition of oral fluency is that you have to speak in a way, you have to communicate fast things quicker, and at the same time you have to ensure that the other people who are communicating with should understand what you are saying. So everyone has a different oral fluency rate. Okay. So you have to find out your comfortable pace, and then you have to stick on to that. And you have to ensure that you're not, falling short or you're going beyond that pace limit. Because if you try something extraordinary, then you may, miss out on that natural flow. Yeah. So speaking fast, speaking fast is not at all the criteria. Okay, so you have to speak in a pace which is really comfortable. You should not speak too slow. You should not speak too fast. And you have to figure out what is your comfortable pace. So if you keep on doing it yourself, you should ask, maybe someone else to look at your response and then, give a feedback on that. that might really help you. All right, so that's Nevin, and then we have, did you follow any template? So I'm assuming that, so template, typically the template question arises for describe image, retell lecture, summary, writing, and essay. So did you follow template?
As far as like, you know, the template is concerned, I only use the parts wherein I was, you know, I don't have to struggle as to how to begin. So there only I use template. For example, while doing a describe image, I always used to start with this image represents, or if there are bar graphs, these bar graphs represent. After that, whatever I'm speaking was as per what I understood, and in order to maintain my fluency, I just ignored the content also most of the times, because I wanted to be fluent and confident. And if I focused more on the content, my fluency was going down in describe image. So with every section, this would vary. So I didn't follow any template, I would say, for describe image or retell lecture also. It was all about catching the keywords in retell lecture and speaking it out in a correct order, and maintaining the fluency there as well.
So for me, the describe image, similarly, I started off with this bar graph represents, this pie chart shows, or you know, this is what is there in the x and y axis. So usually there is a line indicating what the bar graph is about. So I used to read that out and used to, the minute the bar graph would be on the screen, I would note the maximum and minimum. If I don't understand the content also, I would talk about those values. Here we see that, you know, India exported maximum number of clothes in this particular year, things like that. So I used to note down, you know, any outliers like maximum values, minimum values, anything that looked different, that I would note down and speak in describe image. And in retell lecture, just make sure that you write down all the keywords. If you can write quickly, just 2 or 3 sentences, important sentences, you try to note down, so that you don't have to again put an effort to think about or rephrase the sentences. I used to repeat a lot of those sentences because I used to make a note really quickly.
Super, super. And do you want to share that interesting experience that you had on your test day, Sujana? You heard someone how?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. I could share that. So first thing, be prepared that, you know, you're not going to have a very quiet room. I think I wasn't sure. So the minute I went, it was like a market, and everybody was like loudly speaking. So whenever I found that I was not able to focus, twice I called the examiner, the person over there, and told them that, you know, I'm not able to focus because some people are very loud. So if you think that, you know, it's distracting you, please do tell them. Because it's hard to focus when there is background noise. So there was this one person, he had, I think, so his bar graph started before me, like 2 minutes before me. So while I was listening, what he did was, he didn't understand the bar graph. So for every bar graph, every pie chart that would flash, he would say something like, I see a bar graph in front of me. I am not exactly sure what this means, but I'm anyway going to try to interpret it. So he had like a template. The first time I heard it, I was like, wow, you know, he's able to manage so well. Then 2-3 times later, he's saying the same thing, you know, for whatever image flashed, he said the same thing. But when I spoke to Ambarish, she said, for all you know, that person also might have scored a 90, because see, the content is not very important. The fact that you are continuously speaking or trying to interpret is what is important. So even if you don't understand, you can prepare some kind of templates like that and go. In case, you know, you completely blank out, you can use something like that.
Exactly. So precisely the point. Again, you know, we typically at Foundation do not encourage any sort of template, because if you're using a template, then you are not really learning anything. I understand the challenges that a lot of you may face when you are, you know, new to such structures, exam components. But it's unless and until you put that effort. So I have seen a lot of students using the same, you know, structure that, you know, Srijana was talking about. I see a beautiful picture in front of me. So it's that, you know, they're not putting that effort in really understanding, because if you put that effort, at least for a couple of display images, it becomes really, really easy. You don't even have to tell something that is not there. So That is one thing. The other thing is
essay. So I just want to add one thing about essay. So because IELTS, I scored really poorly in writing only. Though I know that I wrote really well, I got really poor marks. So essay, what I did was I attended one of the sessions which Ambarish did just before my exam, where he talks about the structure. It's not really a template, but a basic structure. If you have to write about pros and cons, or if you have to agree or disagree with an opinion that is stated, how do you structure it properly? So I wrote about 4 paragraphs and a conclusion paragraph. So I tried to stick with that structure which he explained.
okay. So you have to follow a basic structure. Here, content matters a lot. Okay, you
Right.
have to uh, you should make sure that you're not writing anything off topic. You have to write really within the content. And do you remember how many words you wrote, Srijana and Neha?
Yeah, I think mine was above 250.
Same here. I wrote about 250, and you told me to give examples. Like if you're
Yes.
agreeing or you're disagreeing, you try to give examples.
Absolutely. So with every paragraph that I started, I began with firstly, then secondly, and in every paragraph, I made sure the point that I made was covered with some example, one example at least. And one more thing that I felt helped me score very high. Every time I've given my PT, I've scored 19 writing. So one reason I believe could be the collocations also, because I have used collocations a lot in my writing. Uh, and I
So could you
consistently,
please give a few examples, Neha?
yeah, like for example, an important aspect. So with, there are some words which are located together mostly.
Correct.
An important aspect, it will not be an important thing, it will be an important aspect. I mean,
Aspect.
some words are co-located mostly. I used co-locations in most of my sentences. And I think that because even when I gave my first PT attempt, any of the mock tests, my writing went high when I used co-locations. That's what I believe.
Alright. So that's a
And
really interesting observation.
also I think, like Ambarish was mentioning to me, to make sure that full stops, commas, and capital letters when you start, very, very important. Even when you review, you will see that you will lose marks if you don't put those things in place. And even when you're writing that, there's one thing like summarize everything in one sentence. That's pretty tough if you want to summarize the content, right? There also try to understand when commas can be used and how they are used, because those are pretty important in the sentence formation.
Yeah. So full stops and other punctuations.
Yes.
You have to be extremely careful. And you don't have to be really, really finicky about all these. So am I using a colon? Am I using a semicolon? Am I using a comma like this? See, as long as when you read it to yourself, if the if you whatever you have written, that's being communicated, as in if it does not hinder the meaning that you're trying to communicate, then you can stop there. You don't have to be really finicky about that. But then just basic conventions that I mentioned, full stop, basic commas, capital letters, all those conventions have to be proper, because these are basic rules of grammar. You cannot afford to make a mistake. Okay, so essays.
There's one question that somebody's asking, that how do we manage 20 minutes to complete the essay? So for this, I would like to give a tip that once you get the essay topic, you must first understand what the topic is asking you to do, and then what you should do is write some high level points out of that topic which you will focus. For example, in my case, it was like small shops being replaced with big malls. So what do you think, it is a positive or negative um, development? So I made sure that I first, had my ideas in place, that what am I going to write. Firstly, I supported small local shops, uh, and I mentioned that deforestation is one point that I'll explain more in one paragraph, and then I thought that in the second paragraph I'll talk about the negative aspects of big mall in terms of bad impact on children, their development. So you need to think create some ideas around that topic and then start writing. Once you would have the ideas, writing would become easier, because in 10 minutes you'll be able to, 15 minutes maximum, you'll be able to write whatever you want to write once you have the ideas. And then I would say you should skim your you should review your paragraph for the mistakes, because another thing you should try is using a lot of synonyms, because don't use same word again and again in the essay. You have to replace it with some synonym so that it gives diverse look to your essay, and it gives diversity basically.
All right. So to summarize, avoid repetitions. To manage time, what you really have to do is, in the first maybe 2 to 3 minutes, understand the question really well, and then what you have to do is think about 2 to 3 points that you will really write in this 2 to 3 paragraphs, and then make sure that you write those points and then expand on those points, and avoid repeating the same word again and again. Good point here. Do you opinion should be okay? 1 second. Oh, there are a lot of questions. In essay, if the question is agree and disagree, where we have to mention our opinion in the introduction or conclusion?
So initially in the introduction, you generally give your opinion. Like, do you think school uniforms are needed or not? If I think they're needed, I will write, I do think they're needed. The second paragraph is where I will give my logic about why I think they're needed. I'll give 2 or 3 really strong points and 1 or 2 examples.
Right.
The next paragraph would be where I would say something like, but some people do believe that uniforms are not needed. Here you try to give a weaker example. Weaker example meaning something that is not very strong and opposes your opinion in the first paragraph. Give a weak example because you want to weaken the opposite point, right? And then finally you give a conclusion. Give examples in both for and pro and con, both you give examples. In the conclusion, never say anything that you've not mentioned before. Don't bring out any new facts. If you want any new facts, add it in the first paragraph itself. The other thing is, after you write it, leave at least 3 or 4 minutes to read your entire essay once again, because when we're writing, it's easy to make grammatical mistakes no matter how good you are. It is sometimes when you read it second time, the meaning comes out very differently. So it's a good practice to revise the answer once you've finished.
Good. All right. So basically, yeah, you take a stand in the introduction paragraph itself. The last sentence of your first paragraph should be your stand. Whether you support it, do not support it, that stand should be taken in the last sentence of first paragraph, which is known as a thesis statement. And then in the subsequent paragraph, you expand on why you put that stand to the example. And then, as Srijana rightly mentioned, you should also give a counter claim. If you think that this is something that you will not support, then that's a counter claim. Give a weaker example for it. You don't want to show that your counter claim is more strong than your actual claim. Is that right, Srijana? This is what you meant, right?
Yes, correct.
All right. Okay, so we have agree. So are there any essay questions? Can we use phrases in the essay? Phrases in the essay. Kanika, what exactly you meant by that? Can we use phrases in the essay?
Yeah, I answered there in the chat that using phrases can be a bit tricky, and it can cost you if you do not write it properly, because
Okay. And quotes is what you meant, is it? Okay, so you go, are we supposed to bring writing materials to the hall? No, you are not supposed to take anything except your passport. They will give you a erasable notepad. So, and pen, you don't have to carry anything. Okay, so, we have answered few questions in the chat itself. Kanika, I think that answers your question. Using phrases should be done carefully or proper usage. Okay, then you mentioned the phrase being like a market. Yeah, so what really Shrujana meant was the exam center. I mean, it varies from country to country, city to city. So it's slightly better than an internet cafe in India, at least for sure. Than you will hear people sitting next to you, wherever they are speaking. There is a chance that you may hear one day. This will happen only in the speaking section. So that first 20-25 minutes is very crucial, because if you focus on others' responses, then that can actually demotivate you. So it's very important that things that are not in your control, you should not worry too much about it.
Right, and I used to worry a lot about this point, that when we begin with a read aloud, there's a lot of background noise because a lot of people are there, and everybody begins with the speaking section first. So it becomes highly important to not to worry about all that factor, because Ambrish actually really helped me in that aspect. He just told me that you have to ignore that, because that's something which is not in your control, as he just mentioned. And in order to get it out of your head, you have to also practice at times speaking when there are kids around you or people around you talking, and you just read aloud. So practice like that. And when you go to real exam, when I practiced like that and I went to the real exam, I was mentally prepared that there will be a lot of chaos. I have to go on with my test, because I know that the system is capable enough to understand my voice. He's able to filter out other voices. So I don't have to worry about that. I just have to stick to the screen and speak my stuff with confidence and fluency. I don't have to worry about any other thing.
Okay, so I think essays, I think most of the questions are answered. Can I use template in essay? I think we have already answered that. So what you need to have is not a template. So, again, the word template will be often misunderstood. So template basically means structure. You need to have a basic structure, but a lot of people misinterpret template as something that is already pre-fixed. They will come up with predefined sentences. When I review a lot of essays, I see these sentences like, what is that sentence? One of the most conspicuous trends these days is the colossal upsurge of, being wordy that way. So coming up with such prefix sentences will not help if you are aiming for 79 plus. All right, and I see that there are a lot of YouTube videos and articles talking about such structures, but then also understand that a lot of people will be implementing that in their exam. So it amounts to plagiarism that way. So it's something that a computer can easily catch. So avoid doing such things. Essay writing will become very simple once you start practicing at least 5-6 essays. You just have to give that shot. You write 5-6 essays, and then you get the idea. You will be able to write essays very easily. Did you receive the earlier practice questions repeated in real PT exam?
Yes, I did.
Same here.
Okay,
like essay was the so common, that the essay that came to me was so common that I had already practiced it 2 to 3 times in my mock test. And
right. So essay, there is the pool is like really short, and often essays are repeated essays. So there are, I think, a common list of about 40 to 50 essay topics, and typically repeat from that pool itself.
My questions, even in the describe image also it repeated.
Yeah. Right. So if you observe, carefully, Srijana and Neha, you must have understood that the repetition mostly happens in this open-ended question type.
Okay.
Right. This essay, anyway, everyone writes an essay in a different way, right? And then you can, end up making mistakes in that. Even after practicing, you can make a mistake there. Even for describe image also, it's about how you deliver that on the test. Now, so basically the question I think a lot of people might be having is, did you get any repeated reading fill in the blank exam questions? Or such closed-ended question type. Reading fill in the blanks and reading and writing fill in the blanks is something that a lot of people find challenging because it has something to do with your vocabulary. So did you get any such repeated questions? Hello?
Yeah. Sorry, Ambarish, what was that?
Yeah, so basically the repetition question I think most of them will be having is regarding the closed-ended question. So for
Okay.
example, reading fill in the blank, there is a
Okay.
perfect answer to it, right? And
Okay.
it has everything to do with your vocabulary. So that's something that you cannot, improve in a day or two,
Correct. Yeah.
right? So do you get any repeated questions there in reading fill in the blank or reading and writing fill in the blank?
No, I didn't get any.
Right. So basically, if you may not get exact sentences, but if you practice a lot, you may end up learning a lot of new words, which may come in other passages, which you may get as a reading fill in the blank question. So essays and describe the major lectures, summarize context. These are repeated quite often. But again, understand that there is a huge pool of questions. So just having a strong, solid strategy is what that matters. You cannot rely on repeated materials 100%. Okay, using keyboard.
Yeah, but there's like the real exam. To be honest, I found it easier than any of the prep or mock test or any of the application questions that I've found. I mean, I found it easier than the preparation.
Summarize. I normally use the app to practice, but how do you get a feel of exam? To get a feel of exam, you need to do a mock test. You go full length mock test. Okay, Manasa, how did you improve your vocabulary? So Manasa is asking, how do you?
Yeah, so vocabulary, I would say that, as I mentioned in the chat also, that for me, how I improved my vocabulary was some of the important words, some of the words that we use in our day-to-day language, I learned synonyms of those words, which are a bit off the beat. There are some words which are like, if you have to say unparalleled, there's another word, unprecedented. So I didn't know that before, but I started learning these new synonyms of even the simple words that helped me improve my vocabulary. And going through the reading the newspaper and understanding all of the words there, because when you read the newspaper, you would find a lot of new words which are not used in day-to-day language as well. But if you find out meaning of those, and that can also help you improve your vocab.
Srijana, you have to identity vocabulary.
Yeah, I didn't really focus much on using any new words. I was more focused on trying to make sure that I speak without stopping or things like that. I mostly stuck to whatever vocabulary I know.
Okay, super. So you didn't put an so again, it's not about using those advanced vocabulary. Couple of them you may naturally use. That's fine, and you don't have to purposefully use a lot of advanced vocabulary. So this, I told you about this essay template that a lot of students use, right? One of the major is the colossal upsurge of there are myriad of arguments in favor of my stance. One of the most conspicuous trends. Because I've seen this over and over, utilized it by a lot of people, but then that's not going to help if you don't, use it in the correct context. So just by mugging up your advanced vocabulary words, not going to help. You need to use it in the right context. Okay. Vocabulary. Again, so vocabulary acquisition is not an easy process. The fact that because I have graded both of their PD diagnostic attempts, I know for sure that their vocabulary was already at a good place. Okay, uh, so uh, already at a good place, and then for them they didn't have to really struggle at any of these stages. And I am under the assumption that this is something that they may have got through a lot of practice. So this is something that they might have done a lot of reading in their school days, or they are into the habit of a lot of reading. They may themselves write a lot of things on their own. So it's like that only you can improve your vocabulary. Vocabulary acquisition is not a single day or a single week process. You have to ensure that you read for about 45 minutes to 1 hour at least on a daily basis, and that too quality articles, academic articles. So one very good website that I would suggest all of you to go through is newsela.com. This is something that I've mentioned before also. There are like a lot of academic articles. You can choose the level. For example, there is something called lexical level that they have come up with. You can see that if you choose a level of 500, the same article will be written in a simpler way. And if you move from L500 to L700 or 800, you will see that the sentence structuring becomes slightly complex. So if you read the same article in multiple levels, and if you keep on doing this for maybe 1 week or 2 weeks, you will get into that process. Very important that you get into that process and give yourself time. Okay, it's not, you have to be patient also. Okay.
Yeah, so that is one important thing. Like, see, if you're not starting off with a great vocabulary, or you don't have a lot of exposure to different accents and things, don't focus on everything, because 2 months is not a time to suddenly pick up great vocabulary and become very articulate. You cannot, don't push yourself like that, but focus on the other things which you think can be achievable, like the short term goals, what you can do. Vocabulary does take time. You can read the links he mentioned, but like I said, I did not use any great vocabulary. So just pick few words which are commonly used. For example, in essay writing, you want to support an argument. I strongly believe. For maybe strongly, you can use something else. It is important to know. So just few words you understand if there are any synonyms or anything better to use. But otherwise, you having a great vocabulary, nowhere you can actually show it off in the exam.
Yeah, I think that's true. That is not required to score at all. I mean, it's not something which is forming a major portion of your scoring. Maybe that's something that can additionally just help you improve your vocab in general. However, in the exam, it's not that you need to have very good vocab, which is like extraordinary. That's not required. And there's one question that somebody is asking, that in the listening, if there's any template required, that's not required. However, one tip I can share from my experiences, that in listening summary, so I'm very good at typing. So when I in the listening section, whenever I had to summarize what was told, I used to just type whatever was said, and just hear it passively, not very actively, because I was more actively typing. But I don't know if it will be a generic approach. It may help someone, may not, because for this somebody has to be very good at typing. I was good at typing. My speed is quite fast. So then I used to just write whatever was said, and just picked up important points out of it, and wrote 60 or so words to form that summarization.
Yes. So one thing that I would like to ask both of you here is that I think this is something that a lot of students ask me also. That a lot of students use this structure called structure. Basically, it goes like this. The speaker was talking about, and then he also mentioned that he highlighted the importance of, and he finally concluded that. So yeah, Neha, are you? Hello. Hello, are you connected? Hello. Oh, okay. Should I unmute you? 1 second.
Okay,
Alright,
I'm
so
unmuted now. Yeah. Sorry, that was my kid.
no
There was some
problem.
background.
All right, yeah. Yeah, you are unmuted now, Neha.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, yes, you're audible.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
So was there any question to me?
Yeah, so basically the question was, in summarized for context, a lot of people write the speaker was talking about. He also mentioned that he highlighted the importance of, and he finally concluded by saying that.
Right.
So is
Right.
it a structure that you follow, or
Yeah,
is it?
I mean, I would say it's not specifically any template, yeah, but I did follow the structure that the speaker was discussing. He mentioned that, he highlighted that, he talked about and he suggested, in the end, I would say in the end, he suggested like
All
that.
right. So did you use it consistently in all the summarized for context?
Sorry?
So did you use this structure? For example, let's say your word limit is 50 to 70 words, right?
Right.
In summarized for context. So so my basic question here is that if you are using the lecturer was talking about, he also mentioned that, and in the end he concluded by saying that. So how many words you wrote for one summarized topic? Like you write, always used to write close to 70 words?
Yeah, I wrote 70 words, Ambarish, but I did not use that second person tone which you talked about. I did not say he said that, he started. I read the entire thing exactly in the same tone and tense in which it was stated.
All right, super, super. So what basically this tells us is that both the things work. But basically you will have to use the keywords that was mentioned in the lecture. Now, I usually tell students that if you are writing something closer to 50, maybe 55 words or something, then it's not very good that you use these fillers. As in, the speaker was talking about, he also mentioned that in the end, finally he concluded by saying that. So out of that 55 words, if 15 to 20 words of it is fillers, then you are really giving no space for the actual content. That is something that is being delivered was delivered in the lecture. But if you're writing like close to 70-ish words, then that's a structure that you can really follow. All right.
So I cannot type as fast as Neha. So I used to scribble on my notepad, whatever they're saying, like 3 or 4 sentences I would scribble and then I would write them and elaborate.
Right. The keywords are important. That's the point. Just need to know the keywords and form sentences around the keywords.
Keywords and form sentences around. Yes. Super. All right. So that structure was from E2 Learning video. Yeah. So basically, yeah. So E2 Learning, I see a couple of comments here. See, E2 Learning is doing a very great job. Because understand that when you're putting out a YouTube video or something, it's for mass learning. Okay? So a lot of people rely on that. And a lot of people go through those videos, and different people have different learning levels. And to come up with something that everyone can understand is a really tough job. And if they are doing that, they are doing a very good job. But again, understand that sometimes when you oversimplify things, you may not be giving an accurate representation of what they actually want, and that's what happens most of the time. So, I mean, so most of you are, have a very good amount of learning experience, So try to use that to your advantage. You need to ask questions logically to yourself whether it makes sense or not. So which is why when we give feedback, we always call up students and then tell, okay, so this is what it is, this is what you have done. Why we do that? Because we are giving a chance to ask us counter questions. Hey, you are not doing it right. I mean, tell us why you give us a wrong grade here. So you need to ask that question. So once you start, asking and exploring things, then things will become much. You kind of owning those, and that's when real learning happens. So please make sure that you do all these stuff to score well. Reading is easy and in listening words are clear audible. Reading module is easy and in listening words are clear audible. My voice is breaking. No, I think no.
It's pretty good. Your voice is okay.
Thank you. Okay, so what were we saying? Yes, so Neha has answered that question. So this is another question that a lot of people have. It's a very difficult accent. Do you get that a lot many times that something that you can't really understand? For example, in retail lecture or summarize for context or repeat sentence. Do you get those? I mean, do you get many of those difficult accents, Neha and Sujana?
You get some of them randomly, so you need to be prepared, especially in repeat sentence. The time gap between one sentence and the next is only 3 or 4 seconds. It's not 30 seconds like the others. So you need to be really prepared. The minute you finish one sentence, you have to become alert once again. But still, it's hard, even for really good speakers of English, understanding different accents is difficult. So this will only come if you keep listening to different accents, like short videos and things like that, or TED Talks, whatever Neha is suggesting. You could use any of those techniques to listen to different accents, whatever you find difficult. So if you're comfortable with, say, the American English and British is very hard for you, try to listen to the British, because some words can really seem very close.
Yeah,
So
and one thing is that you can also try watching English movies without subtitles, because generally when we watch movies at home, the subtitles are on and we at times read them if we don't understand. However, try avoid using subtitles and just try to understand the English movies without subtitles. And what I would say is that with practice, when you keep on listening to that accent again and again, you would start catching it. So you don't have to worry much about it. If you start listening and start practicing the listening part of it, you would get it.
Okay, so exam material comes from Fountainhead Script app? Not at all. Not at all. Please, if you're thinking that, okay, practicing it at our platform, you'll get that question, a repeated question.
I mean, you can get lucky that your essay topic or one of the repeat sentences comes from your practice material. It can happen. However, everything is new there in the exam. But as I mentioned, that the exam material, I mean, the exam questions, for me, they were easier than my preparation. Yes.
Right. So again, it's not so cool strategy to mug up things and then go to the exam. So if you have a clear strategy, you don't have to worry about any of it. All right. So especially if you are not aiming for 79 plus, there are some cool strategies that you can apply and then easily get that 79 plus mark. But 79 plus requires a lot more commitment.
one tip, I generally thought about, which I was following, not only for this particular section, generally was, every time I wrote the weekend 3-hour test, I would think that this one I'm going to send for evaluation to Ambarish. This one I'll get it evaluated. So I used to write with seriousness, but in the middle I used to have 2 or 3 bad answers and I would drop the idea. But then when you have some intent like that you want this to be evaluated, then you have a seriousness. Otherwise, after 1 hour, you'll start checking your phone, or you'll think that I'll just go watch some TV. So if you have a little bit of seriousness when you're doing the full art test, it will be easier when you write the actual test.
Good. Very good point. So Hugo is asking, can one use the writing materials to jot down words when you are doing fill in the blanks in listening, or you must be typing as you're listening? So that's a good question. When you're doing listening fill in the blanks, listening fill in the blanks is like you listen to an audio and then the transcript is there, but some of the words are blanked out. So do you used to write it down or do you used to type it down?
Yeah, go ahead, Srijana.
I used to write it down because I said, for me, I find it hard to type. So I used to write it down and then type it. It doesn't take much time. You have sufficient time in that section.
Right, and even if you're typing it, you don't have to write the entire sentence. When you hear the sentence, you get some word like somebody saying, "This is very tough for me." Tough, then the other sentence can be anything, and you just catch the keywords out of it. You don't.
Yeah, so he's asking about listening fill in the blanks.
Okay, listening.
Not right from dictation.
Yeah, those are in fact the easiest ones, I would say, because there you just have to focus on that particular blank area.
Correct.
You don't have to listen to, and as soon as that blank gets completed, you've caught that word, then you just switch your focus to the next blank area, and you don't need to even listen to the other text, though. I mean, that entire text goes in the flow, so you. And in fact, even before that, in that 5 seconds time that you have, what I used to do was, I used to just, from the very first blank, I used to guess what can come there, like appropriate or whatever can be the most suitable word there, and just to make myself comfortable. That's it. I mean, and then when they began, I, picked it up from there. I think this was the easiest one because you just have to focus on those particular blank areas. That's it.
All right. Yeah, so Srijana, so someone is asking, can I use the backspace in exam or not? So there is a popular myth that being circulated in OnePlus and other online platforms that do not use backspace when you are writing an essay. So if you do that, then your point will be deducted.
No, it's a myth. I would have got 0 otherwise.
It's a myth. Okay, so so that is what they were asking, Sujana. So,
okay.
It's anyway a forward-moving exam. You cannot go back to a previous question. So basically, the question is, is it okay to use backspace? So backspace is there for you to use. If you are writing something incorrect, and that's how typically writing happens, right? You don't write anything perfectly first shot. You make mistakes, you correct it. You go back and then correct it. That's a good thing to do in writing. So backspace, using a backspace will not reduce your score. So the fact that did both of you use backspace?
Yeah, in fact, they have this cut, copy, paste also. So you can cut, you can keep shuffling, your sentences up and down. So the reason they have given that is so that you can use it.
Correct. Yes. So backspace in writing model does not play a role. So you become increasingly conscious about such things, such myths, when you are really deviating from the actual topic. If you really worry about the exact topic and the content that you have to give, and if you have practiced it out sufficiently, then you do not have to even think about those. You will not think about those. I have a couple of questions on listening time management, please. All right. So what's your question? In listening, time management is very, very, very important. Do you want to say some few words, Srijana?
Yeah. For listening, I would say that, in fact, to be honest, I didn't have to do any time management at my end. I didn't have to practice it because I think every question was pretty straightforward, and you just have to finish it in the time frame which is there, and then you move on and click on the next. So I mean, for me, I would say that I didn't have any. I won't have any much of tips here. Maybe Srijana can add something.
In listening, other than repeat sentence, which is a little bit constraining with respect to time. The others will
You
have.
mean right from dictation, right?
Sorry?
In listening, you're talking about right from dictation, not repeat sentence, right?
Oh, right from dictation, he wanted to know. Okay, wasn't able to complete one right from dictation. Yeah, so the thing is like, again, don't worry too much about the time. Whatever you are able to write from the content perspective, just make note of the keywords and write. Do not worry too much about the time. Usually there is sufficient time to at least write those 50 words. Don't write the entire lecture in the notepad and then try to copy it on the keyboard. Just write the keywords or some sentences in the writing notes, and then when you're typing it out, just make sure that you type out whatever keywords you're using. Those keywords form simple sentences, and make sure of the punctuation. Don't focus too much on the time. There is actually sufficient time. You tend to finish the exam little early only, 10 to 20 minutes early only.
Right. This basically, let me answer this question. So Srijana and Neha were really good with their time management skills, so they may not have noticed that this is really an issue there. A lot of people, what happens with them is they miss out the last question, typically in listening, that is right from dictation. And if that happens, their score drops significantly because it carries a lot of weightage. Now, the reason why that happens is people spend a lot of time in multiple answering, multiple choice single answer, multiple choice multiple answer. If you spend a lot of time in these questions, you may not have enough time to finish off the exam in time. So that's something that is very, very critical. And you should not spend, we have discussed how much time you should spend in each of these question types in our listening session video. So maybe you can just, go through those videos.
Yeah, multiple choice, multiple answers is one tricky area there, because there, if you are not thorough with the paragraph which is there written there, if you have not understood it well, then you may answer incorrectly. So you have to make sure that you quickly review it, read it, and then answer appropriately.
Yeah. So this is true for reading section also, which they have us referring to right now. In listening section specifically, right when the audio ends, you should be ready with the answer. You should not take a lot of time answering these questions. Okay, and the other thing is highlight correct summary is the only question type in speaking in listening section where you should be spending some time, because the answer choices are somewhat lengthy and tricky.
Yes.
So this is the only question type in listening section where you will be spending maybe close to 2 minutes after the audio ends. All other question types, right when the audio ends, within 15-20 seconds, you should be ready with your answer. And for Srijana and Neha, I think this process was quite natural. And for that reason, they were able to finish off the exam also.
Right. And listening section questions are very tricky in mock tests, as I've seen. But for me in the real PT, these sections were pretty straightforward. They were pretty easy.
So somebody asked if the essay they take 22 minutes instead of 20. Actually, you should just set a time in those questions, like 15 minutes you stop, and then you start with the conclusion and a revision of the entire thing, like proofreading.
Right, because in the real PT, it will not let you write beyond 20 minutes.
Exactly.
But whatever you've written so far, you want it to be grammatically accurate. You want all the punctuations to be in place to make sense. So just take like 1 or 2 minutes definitely to proofread, even though you've not like finished whatever you wanted to write.
Right, I agree to that, because the mistakes that you give, if you have left out any mistakes, they may deduct marks.
Okay.
No, there's a question that did you read the options while listening? For me, before listening began, I started reading then and there only, before even it began, because there are some few things there already on screen before listening actually starts. So I used to try making some understanding out of that before it began.
Yeah, same here. Like even multiple choice also, what I do is I try to read the answers and then go back to the reading paragraph or the listening when it comes. I just try to take like a minute to read it before, so you know that this is the area that you need to focus more on, so that helps.
Right. Did you say deduct marks in essay? Yeah. So what both of them were saying is that if you make too many mistakes, grammatical or spelling errors or sentence structuring wise, if you make too many mistakes in essay, then that will not help you get a perfect score. That's what I mean. Yeah. Okay. So
So somebody asked if we can use the same template. So I think Ambrish also mentioned already that it's better not to use that unless you feel like you're not really getting any headway. It's good to have like 2 or 3 options prepared. Like it doesn't mean that you just go without any prep. Like we mentioned already, this bar graph represents.
exactly.
This pie chart talks about. Here we see an image of. So you can have some of those prepared, but not the entire thing.
Exactly. No, the problem, see, it's not just knowing these templates. As in, different website also mentioned that okay, you can use this template. The problem is whether or not you are using it the correct way. Now, I will give you a simple example. So while I was reviewing a couple of days back, there was a student who was using this template for sure. So she was doing it this way. There's a beautiful picture in front of me. I can see that I have 40 seconds to speak about it. Oh, I see that there is only 35 seconds left. Oh, now I see there is only 30 seconds left. It's going crazy. I mean, it's like, first of all, it's too fast. And then the point is, if you go through, the problem is if you bypass these templates, there's a very high chance that you will go a bit more faster than other sections. For example, your read aloud, you may be going a bit too slower than this presentation. So such things happen. But if you really know how to handle it, for example, if I'm saying like, okay, there's a beautiful picture in front of me. I can see various aspects of image, like the trend is given, the growth is given, there is company X, there is company Y. If you do it in that way, as if you are communicating it to someone, then it really works out. Otherwise, it becomes hard. Like a question, I noticed in PT's scorecard saying first and second, just wondering if it has any impact as well. When you repeat the exam and pay them again, does it mean the score drops into? No. Okay, I will give you one very, very good example. So today morning, I said this to, I think, some of my students. I know personally of one student who he was in Dubai. He has given PTE 22 times. And incidentally, I don't know why this happened today itself, but today he got back and shared his scorecard, and he got 79 plus in his 22nd attempt. So it's not at all true that you do the second time you improve your score. No. Okay, how about using the statistical data before we talked about? Again, it's not about the content you go, it's about how you are delivering it. If you could show us in maybe one of the, so we have few free exams where you can test it and then apply for evaluation. So you can just deliver one of your response. You can have a look at it and then we can tell you. So it's not about the content in this email at all. Content matters in repeat sentence and written lecture. So it's about the way you speak in throughout speaking section that matters. Yes, keep it simple. Yes. Alright, so you have any further questions? I asked the question about, okay. Samida, what was your question? Okay, suppose, so Samita is asking, suppose for SST, summarized spoken text, we miss few words because of accent or speed or whatever. Should we use filler words like the speaker was talking about, he mentioned, he concluded?
I would say these are not fillers. These would actually be a part of your sentence. Even if you miss few words, don't worry. If you have at least 6 or 7 keywords with you, with which you can form a sentence that attaches the meaning to that lecture that was given, then you're good.
Good. Does it answer your question, Amita? Yeah, so it's about, even if you miss few words, it's fine. It's okay to, I mean, so some amount of such errors are acceptable in CP. So, that's very good. In reading section, how much time you spend on each question type?
I don't remember. But like both of us were mentioning, good to read the options once, just a quick glance. Don't have to read everything. Quick glance to focus which area you need to focus on in the sentence, in the reading paragraph or in the listening. But don't dwell too much. Like if it's very confusing and you've already spent considerable amount of time, good to take a educated guess and move on.
Right. Good. Do not spend too much time on reading comprehension questions, which is where a lot of people spend significant amount of time. As Srijana rightly mentioned, you have to make an educated guess if you are not getting the answer. Then move forward. You have to learn to do that and then move to the next question. How many hours one should practice a day? Rule of the thumb. Sorry if I am dragging it back. As Neha rightly, I think the answer is what you go. It totally depends on where one stands. See, if your current level is at 50, and if you want to take it to 79 plus, then definitely you will have to put a lot of effort. Again, it's a purely subjective question. But again, staying in touch with the exam materials, exam preparation materials will always help you. Yeah, so when you are reading aloud, what if you make a mistake? I normally pause in my practice. I know it isn't. Yes. So again, Neha has answered that question. Ignore the mistake and move on. Don't let it reflect in your voice. No need to correct that. Move on with confidence. So in read aloud question, how difficult was the paragraph? Easy.
So in reading, you have a good 30 seconds. So you can actually go through each and every word once completely before you start, reading it. So once you start speaking it. So that 30 seconds is very sufficient for you. Even though it is complex, you can, even if you don't know a word or you don't know how to pronounce it, go ahead and use the closest one, what you think is likely, and use it.
Right. Answer short question. If I don't know short answer question, then what should I do?
Say whatever you can best think of. Like I remember one question which I constantly made a mistake 2-3 times. Like, what is a sports fan called? I would say fan.
A person who watches sports event. Is that the question?
Sorry.
What do you call a person who watches sports event?
Who watches a sports event? I didn't know. I kept thinking till the end and I said fan. I know it's incorrect, but I just said it. So you think of the closest word and say it if you don't know. But usually they're not very difficult. They're pretty easy only. So if you practice those, you will be able to get it.
Right, but if you even if you don't know anything, and if you speak out the word that you say, even if it's not correct, with confidence and with correct, I mean, there's nothing in fluency in one word, but yeah, if you're confident in your voice, that would actually help.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically answer short question contributes a lot towards your vocabulary, not towards your speaking or listening. So just say something. Don't leave any questions. Do not just leave any questions. Any suggestions on how to place mic?
I think this is also a myth because I too read it, and there is really no angle at which you can keep the mic. It's just that comfortable place from where you know that your voice can be heard clearly. Again, because there's background noise, make sure you just keep it little close, but not too close that you hear some sort of an echo or something like that. At a comfortable thing. And there is also a testing that goes on. The mic test goes on before you start, so there's really no need to worry.
Right, right. Do not place it too close to your mouth.
Yeah,
Keep it just
yeah.
away from your mouth.
Yeah.
And again, there are other cases like some of the voices, okay, could be nasal. They may have a nasal tone, in general.
Yeah.
So those, it's not very advisable that you put it just under your nose or something. So such things, should not happen. If you're taking too much breath in between, if it's your voice is choppy or breathy, then you should really worry about it. Otherwise, you don't have to worry.
Yeah, if you're unwell or you have a cold or something, it's good to see if you can take defer it for a couple of days, the exam, or make sure that you are completely okay, because you don't want those things to distract you. There were a couple of people who were constantly coughing when they were speaking, so you don't know how much it affects, but it's better not to take the test when you're not well.
Correct, correct. No, it's a passport, yeah, international passport that you have to carry on your test day. A valid one with the name exactly matching to your exam information that you have given to Pearson. All right, I think content related questions, I think we are getting very few content related questions now. If you don't have yeah, so if you have any specific questions, please feel free to ask. How much time practice in a day? Again, same question, same answer. It's very subjective. Find out what's your current level. Based on your current level and your score requirement, that will basically decide how much time you have to practice. All right, so I think we will. I just asked for 1 hour of both Srijana's and Neha's time, and they exceeded that. It's like close to 1.5 hours, and I'm so glad that we had a very interactive session. So thank you so much, Neha. Neha said that she has to do. So guys, if you don't have any more questions, content related questions, then we will wind up the session. Okay, 1 second, Neha, let me just unmute.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me in, and yeah, thank you for in sharing the questions and this discussion. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ambrish, very, very much.
Yes,
Thank
Ambrish,
you so much, guys. I was not expecting that, you guys were answering questions, you're talking at the same time, you're typing, you're like really, really helping out students. So that's really, really nice to see. This is again, what we also envision, that we have to build a very good learning community. If we can learn from each other, make mistakes, correct these mistakes, understand from each other, then there is nothing like that. So that's something that's really nice to see over here. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation, and
it was our pleasure.
All right. Yeah, so if you have no further questions, then we will wind up the session. So hope this was a learning experience for all of you. And if you have any questions, then please feel free to contact. You can always reach us. You can always mail me at ambarish@fountainheadcut.com. Or if you want to give a call, then you can always call 97588. Okay. Yes, Rakesh, exactly. Yeah, Rakesh was there. Yeah. So 3 weeks before, Neha was also practicing with us. Exactly. Meet you in Australia soon. Okay, that's very nice to see. All right, thank you so much once again. So let's wind up the session.
Thanks and bye.
Bye. Yes, I will be sending the recording of this. I have recorded it. Yes, I will be sending the recording. Yep. All right, guys. Super. Thank you so much for coming and attending the session. Bye bye.